Deepinder, right? Deepinder? Would you mind turning off the front? Thank you very much. How about we do what the title of this video says, actually. So we're going to go back a little bit and do the pros and cons of leasing. And then I'll do that example. Right? We don't want to disappoint the viewer, right? I thought this was talking about pros and cons. This is on page 47, right? Page 47. Additional info on leasing. So I always tell my students, if you want to ace these ones, like the pros and cons, read the whole thing, right? Like don't just take my words. I kind of summarize it a little bit, but read the whole thing. So basically, leasing is an alternative to purchasing, right? This is on 47. Or you purchase it through financing, right? When the lease ends, you have three options, right? Return the vehicle to a dealership, return then lease a new vehicle, and then purchase it. Purchase it at a predetermined percentage of the original price. So you can do that. But here are the pros and cons. Page 47. Okay, so lease payments. The advantages of leasing, right? Payments are less than financing. Okay, payments are lower than financing it. Second bullet here, when you lease the vehicles, you can change vehicles every 2, 3, or 4 years without worrying about the trade-in value of the car and without entering into vicious negotiations and disagreements. I'm not going to highlight anything there. When you lease new cars, you're always driving a relatively new, reliable, repair-free, right? You always drive a relatively new, reliable, repair-free vehicle, and you can also slap in that you'll have warranty. So you're probably not going to have huge maintenance costs, right? They'll be fairly low. This one here, you can also use that one. The province would accept that. Vehicles depreciate, they lose in value over time. Most financial analysts suggest that people should purchase assets that appreciate and lease assets that depreciate. To be honest, I would say that's more from a business standpoint, business owner, because I still think you lose a lot of money when you lease. You have nothing to show for, right? So I'll write that down on the next page for us. Let's talk about some disadvantages of leasing. I think some of these you will already know, right? Something we call continuous leasing promotes perpetual payment phenomenon, right? So you always have a car payment that never stops, right? If you keep on leasing, if that's what you would be going for, you never, payment is forever, right? Monthly payment is forever. Lessees are subject to kilometer restrictions. Here you go. Kilometer restriction is also a disadvantage. And ambiguous wear and tear conditions. Ambiguous means they're not very specific as to what would be considered wear and tear, right? Like, what does it mean? Like, you know, if this seat is kind of worn out because I'm going in and out of the car, right? I don't know. Most vehicles are built so well today that in many cases you may want to exercise the buyback, right? Because the car is still in great shape and has low kilometers, but the buyback may be too high. You can highlight that part. The buyback amount may be too high. You kind of bit off more than you can chew. You were able to chew it at first because the payments were low, but now that you actually want to own it, it might still be too high for you. Okay, you might not be able to afford it. It is very difficult and expensive to get out of the lease, right? It's difficult and expensive to get out of the lease before the expiry date. Let's turn that into maturity date, right? Or term. You can use whatever you want, term, maturity date, but it's like a phone, right? You can't just get out of it like that. You have to kind of honor the term, the contract, or you got to be willing to pay the what is it called, the penalty, right? There's a penalty for getting out sooner, so they want to make sure you stay that. Sometimes on Kijiji you'll see people advertising, hey, I want to take over my lease. I don't know if you've ever come across that, but somebody's like, hey, it's only like so and so much per month, and I only have like a year left. You want to take it over? So I think it's possible for you to give it to somebody else as long as the payments continue, right? So, but it is difficult and expensive to get out. Let's go over to page 48, and I'll just give you, in a nutshell, what you should. These are the ones that you can always use, and the first ones are always the best ones. So on page 48, advantages, right? Lower monthly payment compared to financing. Okay, compared to financing, so that'll be for sure something. If you're always leasing, right, it would consider the car is reliable and under warranty. Therefore, maintenance costs are relatively low. Cars are reliable and under warranty. Maintenance costs are relatively low. The vehicle is safer. Vehicle is new and is equipped. What happened there? 2 Qs? Is equipped with latest safety features. So you might say this is very similar to buying a new vehicle. Yes. So you gotta, can I tell you, you always gotta read the question, right? If it's leasing versus buying new, don't use safer, right? Like that wouldn't really cut it because they're both safe if they're both brand new. And they're also both under warranty and reliable because they're brand new. So you wouldn't be using these two bullets here. But if I asked you what is the difference between buying a brand new one and financing it versus leasing it, then yes, you can use this one here, right? Lower monthly payments. Disadvantages. Perpetual payments. Right? Payments never stop. Payments never stop. You never actually own the vehicle, right? And this leads to several problems. You can't customize it. Right? Because you're not owning it, you can't customize, you can't modify it. Another problem that arises from that, you cannot use it as collateral. All kinds of noises today, right? Furnace, cabin life, guys, cabin life. You cannot use it as collateral for a loan. Collateral is, right, the bank says, hey, what do you got? You want $5 grand to buy this? What do you have? Oh, I have a car. Okay. So they can kind of like take that should you not make your payments, right? But you cannot use a leased vehicle for it. It will not acknowledge it. What's perhaps one of the biggest downsides of leasing? What's the problem? You get charged for it. Forgot your name, Kenneth? Or did you say kilometers? Yeah. So there's a mileage restriction, we call that. Right? You are charged extra when surpassing limit. Right? You can say it the way you want it, use your own words. If you go over the limit, you will be charged extra, and it goes on and on and on. I think that's all I'm going to say here. This is enough. This is all you need. Have one on each side on your study sheet, and that's that. Okay. So write this down, and then let's keep going here. Page 52. Go ahead. Okay. Show of hands. How many finished key in? So you're good to go, but maybe just some explanations here will help you out. So we have example 5. There's a lease happening, right? So when you write your quiz or test, you're like, I'm in the lease territory right now. And there's an MSRP mentioned. There's a 48-month lease at $375 plus tax. There's a $5,000 down payment. The residual value, remember guys, that is when you buy it. So at first, you're probably not going to have to worry about it. But if you were to buy it, that's what it is. And there's a lease, watch this guys, of 20,000 kilometers. What does it say after? Per year. It's not a fixed amount, right? You need to figure out what the limit is. So you got to be very watchful for that. So I right away will go, okay, it's a 4-year lease. How do I know that? It tells me right here that it's a 4-year lease. 48 months, I would expect you to figure that one out. So 4 years times 20,000, that means that by the time you bring, they don't check your kilometers every year, guys. This is just in the policy, in the contract, and so this is the limit, right? This is what we would call the limit. You cannot go past it, or else you'll be charged. Okay, so calculate the mileage charge after tax. So I don't know how you do this, but I usually try to figure out how much am I over by, and so you take your actual driven amount, you subtract the 80,000, and this is 12,350 kilometers, quite a bit that you went over. So the mileage is therefore 12,350 kilometers times, it's 11 cents in this case. It's all over the place, by the way, this charge. And we want to add taxes. And remember, leasing, everything is taxed 12% across the board except for the down payment. So this ends up being 1521.52, okay, which I already gave you, but there it is worked out. Okay, so you got to watch out. I'm going to say it one more time. Is this a fixed amount or is it a per year amount? You need to read carefully. The province has done both, so we need to watch out. And let's keep going. Total cost of the lease after the tax. So total cost of lease, I will take my down payment, right? And I will figure out the total payments I've made over the course of my lease. So 375 a month times 48, right? There's 48 months times 1.12 to slap taxes onto it. And I need to add my mileage, right? I would have to pay that as well. So whatever number you got here, you tack it on there. And then it's 5,000 plus 20,160 plus 1521.52. And now just adding it all up, 26,681.52. You should be ready for lease after today. Okay. C, calculate the residual value after tax. No problem. It's 65% of the MSRP. And I will add taxes to that in this case. If it says before taxes, that's all you would need to do. But it did ask us for the after tax. So I'm going to show 22,750 times 1.12. And then that gives you 25,480. This is what the question ultimately wanted. And then this is the total cost of the lease and the purchase. So you just basically add up the two. And most of you are just watching me right now to make sure you're not missing anything. So will all of these components always be part of the test or quiz? No, but you need to be able to read and answer accordingly. Okay. I'm just going to leave it at that. Page 51 is on the key that I posted, right? So page 51, 52, and everything that has to do with leasing is on your is posted. So if you want to go and look at that, you go for it. So we're going to go and switch gears a little bit. Let's go to the front of this booklet first and foremost. Front of the booklet, just to give you a little overview. Where are we at? We've talked about buying a new vehicle. You should have heard and calculated depreciation and residual value. We did talk about buying used, dealership versus private. We did talk about leasing, right? We did leasing. Financing, we've done that. Look at how much we've done already. We haven't done insurance. We haven't done operating costs. Hybrid versus electric, or hybrid and electric. We'll just talk a bit about it a little bit, but we don't actually do a whole lot of math there. So we're almost done the unit, right? And I posted the quiz date on Google Classroom. I don't know if you caught it. Did some of you catch it? I will write it on the board as well. It's going to be Thursday, this Thursday, okay? So mark that on your calendars. And then the test will happen next week, either Tuesday or Wednesday next week. So either February 28th or March 1st. So we're getting to the end. This is going to be important to start off well, right? You want to start off well, and then we do geometry, trigonometry, statistics, probability, like it will be different and not as long as this unit. I kind of park quite a while here to make sure we cover everything, okay? So jumping again, we're going to go to page 37. Come with me to page 37. It says amortization tables at the top. And you should recognize this from grade 11. If you don't, you'll be okay. I will walk through a full example and then I'll get you to do one on your own. Okay. You recognize this, guys? A table like this? Some of you are nodding, some of you want to run at this point. And I understand that. Okay. Amortization tables show the breakdown of the loan and of the payments themselves. Although these tables can be easily accessed online, it is important to know how they work, right? It's very important. Amortization, amount of time required to pay off the loan, right? Well, that's why amortization tables, it breaks down all of the payments for the entire loan or mortgage. Okay, Jamal purchased a vehicle for $12,000. He had to borrow $10,000. What happened? Why is it $12,000 and he needs to borrow $10,000? There's a $2,000 down payment. That's what happened. Does that make sense? right? You need this much, but you only borrow that much. There's a $2,000 down payment that brought down the amount you need. But that's actually beside the point right now. I just want you to focus more on how do I fill this in. So we borrowed 10 grand at, this is what we call the rate, okay? This is what we call the loan, and it's for 3 years, right? So that's what we call the term. Term, which is, we use the letter T for that one. So let's calculate his monthly payment first of all. So payment would be the $10,000, right? That's the loan. And what do we have to multiply it by? Do you remember? This also reviews financing. Remember, look at your study sheets, should have this formula. It calls for table rate divided by 1,000. And you don't have to follow this. I'm just going to show you what that table is on page 32, by the way. But if you want to follow, I'm not going to stop you, right? So 4.25% is the interest rate over 3 years. We're just going to match it. And there's that number. That's the number we need to grab. 2969, and it says per $1,000. That's why the divided by 1,000. So 2969 goes here. I got this from the table. Let's write that down. Table on page 32, if you'd like to put that down. And that's answer. You're going to have to go back to the table for the other questions, so you might as well earmark it. Okay, so let's figure this out. You grab your calculator, 10,000, right, times 2969 divided by 1,000, and you can see that this could have probably been done using mental math skills, right? So this is your monthly payment. This, ladies and gentlemen, this is fixed. It doesn't change. Once the bank makes you sign, somewhere there'll be that monthly payment or bi-weekly payment, whatever you choose. So this gets filled in for every single month. We're going to do it for the first 3 months. This is 296.90, 296.90, and so forth. So that doesn't change. Everything else will change. This unpaid balance, this one right here, that's basically the loan, right? That's the loan. And interest, these cells right here is what we call lowercase I. Put a lowercase I there. And this is money towards principal. That's lowercase p. Do you remember those two? Right? They go together. And these two always make up your payment. And so this would be, remember when we calculated the interest paid in the first month? This is what this is. And then we're going to figure out the principal, and then we're going to figure out this part. So let's do this. Interest. You see this gray area here? I'm going to put the formula down that I'm using here. It's loan times interest rate divided by 100. And all of that is going to be divided by 12 months because you just want the 1 month, not the entire year. Let me zoom into this so you can see it. Okay, so for interest, for the first month, I take my loan, which is right here, 10 grand, and we multiply by the interest rate divided by 100. So 4.25 divided by 100, and all of that divided by 12. And let's calculate this. I invite you to use your calculators for this. So when things are multiplying and dividing, right? Like let's say this 10 grand, just multiply the 10 grand by the 4.25 and then divide it by 100. I would hit equal at that point. So you get 425 when you multiply this out, And then the last step is divided by 12. So for the first month, you're going to be paying $35.42. This is the number that I'm really after in this cell. I give you enough room to do the work, but you don't always have to show me the work, by the way. Okay. So that's lowercase I. To get this cell, right, we're going to go P. To get principal, we're going to take our payment and subtract lowercase I from it. So to get the principal, we go 296.90 minus 35.42. And if you want to get full marks, make sure every single cell that you're filling in has a $sign attached to it. So that's the number that goes in that cell. And remember, I showed you this on my iPad. These two always make up your payment. These two cells should add up to your payment. Okay, so you filled in this and this. And so now this is basically your running total, like your unpaid balance, how much you still owe. So you take this number, the principal portion of your payment brings down the unpaid balance. So I showed like that. So I go minus 10,000. Even though it's a negative on my calculator, I know that that's supposed to be a positive, right? And so if I ask you how much do you owe after the first month, you owe this much, right? So that's how much you owe there. Let me use a different highlighter, right? This one here comes in here. That way you can see how did that happen, right? And if you have a different color, I'm just going to show you that this number showed up here, right? So it's like a chain reaction. You calculate the interest, it comes into this one. You figure out that. And you take this number, you subtract it from your unpaid balance, and the cycle will repeat itself. This number follows you to the second month here. I'm going nice and slow. I hope you follow, but don't fall asleep, okay? 97.38. If you get this, go for it. You fill in the rest, right? So we take this number that we ended up owing, and we do the same thing as before. Watch this, right? 4.25 divided by 100. If you do that, I'm going to just go ahead and figure that out. It's 0.0425 if you divide it, right? That doesn't change. And keep dividing it by 12. So I still have that on my calculator. And so that's 34.49. And you should be looking at this like, okay, I'm doing something right because the interest you pay every month should go down. Every month you owe less, so you pay less interest. You take this number and you take the 296.90, you subtract 34.49 from it. Every decimal counts in these ones. Okay? So you clear your screen and do it one more time. So that's 262.41, which is, if you look at it, now you're paying off a little bit more than before, which is good. So you come over here. I don't have enough highlighters to do this again for the second row, right? So the first row is the only one that will get highlights. Subtract, you get 94.7611. So slowly but surely, the amount you owe is going down. This is a 3-year loan, so technically you'd have to do 36 of these. we won't do that, right? I won't do that, but be aware of that. Next, one more line. I would be 9476, 11 by diagonal minus, it's just a plus, times. If you do this, you get 3356, which makes sense, right? It's slowly going down. Principal, 296.90, 3356. And so that's 263.04. Take the 263.04, subtract it, and you have 9213.07. So you've done an amortization table for 3 months. Okay. So after the third payment, you will have this much owing. Yeah. 263. You're right. I don't know what happened. I went 296. Oh, okay, got it. See my mistake? That why I like these calculators. I typed in 296.6. Yeah, thank you. So this is 34. This is 34 as well. Which means that this is 9212.77, right? Thank you. 9212.77. Is this what you got, Robert? Yeah. You got 9213?
Yeah.
But I made a mistake here, right? My key has this number as well, actually. So I don't know what happened there. Double check. That's my calculator, right? Those yellow ones. Normally I wouldn't mind, but let's just leave them there because they're for my applied class. Every number is associated with a student. But you can use it for today, but then just make sure you put it back. Okay, guys, let's break this down. How much did you pay in total over 3 months? Right? I will do that here. This is total paid to the bank after 3 months. If you add this up, right, 296.9 times 3 basically, this would be 890 and 70 cents, right? If you consider 3 months worth of payments, you paid that much. If you added up the 3 months worth of interest, this is what we call TI for the 3 months. I have to make sure you understand that. That's 103.47. Right? Total interest after 3 months. The actual amount that went off of your unpaid balance is adding these up. This would be total principal. That's 787.23. Okay. So these are numbers that I'm going to use here. How much did you pay in total? We're going to put an arrow going like here, right? How much interest did you pay over 3 months? We're going to make an arrow and bring it in here. Sorry. And how much went towards the principal in the first 3 months? This is the number that would go there. Your best bet is to actually show me the numbers that you're adding up, just in case you made a mistake in your table here. Okay. And remember, this number and this number, right? That will add up to the total 3 payments that you've made. And this is zooming in. We're zooming into the first payment, then we're zooming into the second payment, the third payment, right? This would go on for 36 of them, which is not, I'm not going to do that ever. 3 is like the most. Right? 2 or 3 is a fair amount. Can I also tell you one more thing? Okay, so this would be filling it in from scratch, but I sometimes fill it in partially and let you do the rest. So something like this, follow me to page, I'll let you figure that one out actually, but I want to show you on page 39. You see that one, page 39, question 3. The payment is already calculated and you have numbers hovering all over the place. When you have one like that, it's basically just adding and subtracting numbers. All right, guys? When you have something partially filled in, it's like you just have to remember, oh, wait a minute, these two add up to that. So meaning if there's a blank here and I've got 2, I should be able to figure this out, right? I'm missing this one here. I know something about these 2 that give me that one. So it's just adding and subtracting. That's it when it's partially filled in. Okay. But when you're doing it from scratch, which you have to be able to do, then it looks like this. So go to page 38. I'm going to give you, see how we're doing here. Because it's your first go at it, I'm thinking 6 to 8 minutes to fill in this entire thing by yourselves. So go to page 38. I will give you the answer. Do you want the answer, the final, or do you want each month? How about I'll give you this one here. Here you should be getting 2942.61. And the last one is 2827.18. And I love it if you prove me wrong, if you find my mistake. So go ahead.